wheel.
Or in the, above,
here?
yeah.
It's a
Just
disc.
move your finger.
Oh,
Twist your finger.
oh.
Ooh.
And what would you like, 8 what?
Right
Nine
now,
to
we'd like
12 o'clock, let's
Eight,
go
nine.
right at 9. And then we'll see if we can get it up without it
Meeting is
falling on
adjourned.
Clint's head.
I'm not gonna talk past 11:30 today.
Is it straight?
You'll need
We'll
to
go.
ramble on, man.
There. Good.
Still going through.
I can be trained.
The Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting will come to order. Let the record show that today is August the 7th, 2019. The time is now 9 o'clock. Miss Jackie, would you care to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, Madam Clerk to the Board, would you conduct the roll call, please?
Commissioner Flowers.
Present.
Commissioner Canada.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Audience introduction, sir, would you begin?
Lynn LeGree, Airport. Bob Jolly, Airport.
Tracy Ballard, the Valley Beat.
Jackie Bubis, Sentinel.
Thank you. Good morning. Welcome. Good to have you. Amendments to the agenda.
Do not have any.
Okay. Well, Commissioner Prince, I assume you're going to bring up what I'm going to bring up, so go right ahead.
Can we discuss?
Exactly what I was thinking.
Why don't
No,
you
no.
do- Why don't you do that?
I was going to ask you what you guys felt.
I can bring it
Shall
up
we-
too. I think we ought to discuss it.
I would like to discuss the
Okay.
proposed agreement council prepared for us last night.
Under new business,
It's not posted.
Commissioner items.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you care to take the lead on that when we get there?
Yeah, me too.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I do not have any amendments other than that. No minutes to approve this morning.
No.
Commissioner items, Commissioner Kanda.
Well, anything new, just working on the airport stuff.
Okay. I attended the the National Sheriff's Night Out last night at the Saddle Club building. Very good turnout. I don't know how many people they served. I guess a couple hundred would be my estimate.
Yeah, boy, I wish we could have gone. We missed it. Couldn't go.
They had a good program and gave away a lot of door prizes, and I think everybody enjoyed it.
Except I didn't win.
A lot of food. I
You didn't
didn't win
win
either.
Either.
So.
Well, I didn't
yeah,
lose anything by missing it, I guess.
That was,
except being there.
That was a nice function, and the community certainly turned out to support the sheriff.
Dawn Ramsdale did a very good job.
Yeah, she really put a lot of time and effort in that.
She did.
Yeah, Dawn Ramsdale, I don't know what her official title is. I think she's the jailer detention officer.
She's a good gal.
Decorated and did a great job. So, other than that, that's all I did since yesterday. Commissioner Prince.
I really didn't do anything yesterday, other than stuff. Did you let me bring up the?
Yeah, let's go ahead. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've all received a memorandum of understanding between Custer County and the West Custer County Hospital District prepared by our attorney yesterday.
Proposed, yeah. Right, proposed.
Well, we received a copy of
Okay.
a proposed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
It just hasn't come from the hospital district, right?
Right, it is a proposed
MOU
memorandum that was prepared by our council for us to review before we submit it to the hospital district for their comments and or revisions and hopefully approval. I think they are a governmental agency since they're a subdivision, is that correct? So,
Yeah.
I think, first of all, I'd like to say, in an extremely short period of time, a couple hours, you had this done. And I thought it was just, I'm reading it thinking, I wish I could write this well. So I think it was extremely well done. My only suggestion would be to change memorandum of understanding to interagency, an intergovernmental agency agreement on the heading. Other than that, I personally didn't see any differences, but I'll turn it over to you to see if you folks have any changes you'd like to make.
I'm just gonna ask about the MOU versus the interagency thing. Do we do that with the fire district? Do we have an governmental agency agreement? Do we do it with
You really could do.
sheriff's office?
And it's really Clint should decide, but my impression is you could do either one. I think to me, it's a little more formal as an interagency governmental agreement as opposed to just a memorandum.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, but council, I'm happy to.
No, I agree.
I think you're
Oh, I
right.
agree
Just
with
wanna
you.
make sure
I
it's straight,
Thought about that afterwards.
it's gotta be powerful.
Whatever name you put on it, it is still an IGA. It is an agreement between two governmental
Right.
entities.
Well, I changed mine to IGA, so.
Okay.
I think because it is a governmental agency that it should be an IGA by title, but.
Cause
Well-
it doesn't make I don't think it makes reference anywhere else in the document that it's an MOU.
Right.
I think it just refers to it as an agreement all the way through.
I think it is, it's called an agreement, so it ought to be.
So IGA is better, I agree.
Right.
And at the very end, the signatures, when it refers to it as an MOU, that should be IGA also.
Right.
And you pointed out in here, the agreements that were in the past, and you pointed out also pretty well that, their service plan didn't supersede, nothing supersedes what we.
Yeah, I wanted to make it clear
Make it
what
clear.
our legal position is on this, based on the documentation that's on record.
And, the only thing we can talk, I'm thinking about that 6-month thing, I don't know, maybe if you're gonna leave 6 months in, it ought to be or longer until another, a formal agreement to get us to the ballot. Somehow we gotta show this is good through the ballot.
In paragraph number 16.
Yeah, if it goes to about, I'd say
Yeah.
18 months.
Yeah, just make it so.
Or not to exceed 18 months.
Or not to exceed the, 2020 election ballot issue.
I don't know, what do you think, sir?
I really don't, it doesn't make any difference to me, I mean, if,
I'd leave it at I like Tom, I like that.
and my,
Gets us covered.
my thought was that this was to maintain the status quo, you came up with a better agreement,
Well, we
to
can
what
come
you're
back
gonna
and
do between now and the election, and I assumed you would either have that, or
Then
we're
state
gonna have a
it.
court order, one or the other.
Right.
Maybe you ought to state.
How about,
Well,
go ahead.
if I may, when I read the 6 months, I thought also, but I was thinking that's 6 months for us to put something in place until the election. That's what I was thinking, because they may come up with this $120 an hour, or whatever the number is, as Ms. Bubas, suggested.
But if they're gonna I like that, except this is putting something in place. This does exactly that, and it can remain in effect until the election. Because what are they gonna change? I don't think, that if they wanna come back and say we wanna charge somebody, then let's discuss that, let's let them take the lead.
Then we'd have to modify this agreement if we agree to do that. I don't have a problem with
That makes
that.
it formal.
I don't have a problem with that. So,
And that forces that to happen, actually, because if they did nothing, they could say, I'm not even gonna sign
that's fine. Yeah, let's do that, and then they put the onus on them
that. Put
to
the onus on
determine.
them, that this is,
Okay,
this
but,
is
yeah, I
a
think
process.
that makes sense.
Tom, you're making these changes as well?
I am.
Okay, good, cause I
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah,
mine.
that's fine. So,
Shall continue in effect, and how do we wanna change that?
but in no event shall it continue in effect not to exceed, or up until the time of,
About through the.
see, there's no guarantee there's gonna be an election,
So
so
let's,
we can't
That's
really
right.
say that.
That's right.
So if we said, this is the 7th, 5, so it'll be 16 months to get to November.
Okay, it wouldn't take
take
effect,
effect till January.
assuming it was on the ballot and it was
January.
approved, it would take place, that's where I was going, January 2021. So why do we put in this goes
Do
to
that.
January 1st, 2021?
right. In the
Because
meantime,
if it was on an election, that's when the ballot if it was approved, that's the day it would become effective.
Okay,
And then, okay, that's, and then I have another thought that's
I'm listening
adjacent
to it.
is, we ought to force the fact that we're gonna work on the ultimate plan, you know, whether it's redistricting or a new mill levy or whatever. Rather than just saying, we'll let this expire, we could force that to be part of the agreement. We're gonna work together to solve the
I
big
think your
picture.
thought is 100% correct, I'm just not sure
I'm not
it
sure where
belongs
it
in
goes.
this agreement.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
We'd have to force that with another, action,
Right,
cause they could just sit there and let it expire.
right. But then we'll have taken it over and hear more.
Unless we force it to do it now.
Right. I'd say let's go, so remain in effect until January 1st, 2021. And I think that'll cover us for the time being. Give us plenty of time to resolve whatever it is that's going to get resolved. Because this doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do it, yeah.
This just keeps it status quo, it doesn't resolve anything.
so 16 says now, the agreement shall remain in effect until such time as the ambulance service issue has been resolved, or until January 1, 2021. And then I'm struggling with this after the date of its execution
Well,
is
you
set forth
just
below,
drop
so we
that
can
off.
just drop that,
Right.
completely correct.
Right.
Can you define resolved?
Say it again.
Yeah.
Can you define
Not
resolved? That's
resolved.
rather nebulous.
Okay. This
Why don't
agreement
you
shall
leave
remain in
it
effect
flat,
until such
Tom,
time as the
it
ambulance
just
service
remains in effect until
issue
a while.
has been resolved, but no later than, is that what you wrote?
Or until
Or until?
January 1, 2021.
Good.
You wanna put resolved in there because, that, I guess, sort of does what I said in the first place.
What does that mean though?
Yeah.
In whose opinion?
Maybe just take the
Resolved is
resolve
if there's a
out.
new written agreement that supersedes
Mutual.
this.
Unless
Okay.
there is another, that's a better way to say it, unless there is another, written agreement that would, both parties would agree would supersede this. That would
Well,
force it, maybe.
I think the way it's written makes sense to me. This agreement shall remain in effect until such time as the ambulance service issue has been resolved.
Could be 10 different ways,
That's
but
true.
Right,
Nonetheless.
I think that's probably wide open and let's resolve it, and if we don't resolve it, it's just gonna expire on its own 2021, January 21.
And leave
They
it.
they consider it resolved now.
yeah.
See, that's the problem.
I understand, but
Well, this makes it clear we
To
don't.
both, until it's resolved to
what
both
resolve
parties'
is two
satisfaction.
sides, so they could say, we're done, this says it's gonna stay in effect until January 1st, 2021. Or if the issue is resolved, they say it's resolved now, we say, no, it's not, and then we could take action prior to 2021.
We could say to both parties if,
I don't think I need to, I mean,
Okay.
I'm
I don't think
fine,
so.
I mean, I'll defer to council, but I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, two. Okay.
How many whereases are there?
2.
So $100.
Yeah, but at $200 an hour,
I
I
thought
spent
it-
10 hours working on this last week.
Oh.
I believe it.
So the whereas charges on top of that, right?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, whereas are always there.
That's just the next.
Yeah. Okay,
I like it.
So read what you wrote if you don't mind.
so on item number 16, you have it, Bill?
Yeah.
The agreement shall
I do.
remain in effect until such time as the ambulance service issue has been resolved, or until January 1, 2021.
Good enough.
I could see them saying, we don't think there is an issue that needs to be resolved, but then obviously we go take it to another level.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. What does that mean? So they come back and say, no, we're not gonna sign.
Then we put it in the judge's lap.
That's what I think.
I think that's the thing.
This gives them the opportunity to resolve the issue to a mutual satisfaction, which we feel the line is in the sand, we must include service to the Whitmore area. Failure to do on a first call basis, because they're gonna claim, oh, we do, no, you don't, okay, so, and this is just,
Whether there's a secondary crew or not, they have to.
that's right, that's on a first call basis, that's what I'm referring to. If they say, we are not going to make any changes other than what our policy says right now, then I agree with council, let's ask the judge to tell us what you wanna do, or what we should do. If the judge rules that's okay, we move on down the road and we did the best we can.
Yeah,
I don't know any other way to do this.
I agree. I mean, it's time to either
Don't say it, Tom.
We're all.
Well, if they
Something
do, if
or not.
they do consult with an attorney, I think an attorney's gonna tell them the same thing, you know, you're bound by that agreement until it gets changed. And if you don't go along with it voluntarily, a judge will issue an injunction saying you have to, that's my feeling about it.
I'd like to discuss item 13 a little bit, particularly the sentence starting with the district's policies. I guess it would be the second sentence in that paragraph. Really, it's the third sentence. All calls for service emanating from any location in the county will be given priority on a first responded to basis while this temporary agreement is in effect. So if there are certain areas that a 911 call pings off of a different tower, then that's handled differently by dispatch.
And I don't understand how
Yeah.
that part of it works, so if this
So
language isn't appropriate.
particularly San Isabel, we would not be first call on San Isabel, correct?
Because we
I
have
look back to
we have an
OEM.
agreement with them.
Yeah,
It's
that
only-
takes care of itself.
It's only where we don't have an agreement. I think it made reference to, maybe I'm wrong about that.
With the cell phone pings and stuff like that, for example, it was pinged off within Custer County for a call that was actually in Pueblo, and then when they realize the location, they look at it, they just transfer it to the other
Right.
dispatch center, so. that's
But-
how that works. But,
Let's
The
talk
same.
about San Isabel, because that is in Custer County and
Yeah.
it says any location in the county.
yeah,
So that really wouldn't hold water here, I don't think.
I think so.
Because if it pings off of a different tower, then whatever dispatch picks that up is going to
Right.
refer that call to the,
Through the guidelines.
thank you, to the call-out guidelines, that's what I was trying to say.
So
Which
does that
may
mean,
be, San Isabel.
right. Does that mean San Isabel, is San Isabel in the whiteout area? Does Florence respond to San Isabel?
No,
They
San
never did.
Isabel does that.
So,
Right, fine.
so then it shouldn't be an issue because it's like she
Well, we can
says,
insert a clause unless covered by another mutual aid
Right.
agreement.
that would be,
I would
that
think
would be the
so.
way to
That's
handle
where I
it.
was going with it, if we just add those few words in there, I think it covers.
Right.
But that's a really good point, I'm glad you thought of that, I didn't know.
Cause you bet, because the taxpayers aren't paying for it necessarily, they're just getting a
Looking for
response from somebody
Call-out
else.
guidelines.
Got your little map or something there.
So that would be Highway 165
South.
south to the Pueblo County line.
To the,
Right.
Pueblo County line,
So
right.
that is technically outside of their district,
So,
but the call-up guidelines for that is Rye, Beulah, then Custer.
cause we have an agreement that's in effect.
Correct.
so if we add to the end of the first sentence where it says ambulance bond in Westcliff, or on a first call basis via mutual aid agreement.
See, that has to be in there because
No,
we're not gonna force it.
I'm suggesting
You're right.
words
Yeah, that's-
to solve that, I'm just suggesting
It's a good point.
wordsmithing.
Well, how about all calls for service emanating from any location in the county that is not covered by a
Mutual aid agreement.
mutual aid agreement will be given
That's
priority.
the,
There you
that's the
go.
way to do it, cause otherwise they'll come back and say, you're forcing us to do something that we already have an agreement with somebody else.
No, it was a very good point thinking of that, I didn't think of that.
Uh,
And however we cover it, it's reasonable.
From
The
any
key is
location in the county that
Westcliff, I mean,
is
Custer County ambulance,
Covered by
gotta go
IGA.
regardless.
Not an IGA, a
No,
mutual
it's
aid
not an
agreement.
IGA.
Oh, no, it's not, it's a mutual aid agreement.
That is not currently covered by a mutual aid agreement.
And now you can email
Because
That's
if it
sort of
doesn't
like
have a
that.
mutual aid agreement, the call-out guidelines,
Right, so all the call-out guidelines were based on agreed upon mutual aid
right,
agreements, instead of having them in a bunch of different documents into one,
right.
and
You
then
don't
the
want me to
map.
highlight these changes in red, Clint?
Pardon me?
You want me to highlight these changes?
No, just go ahead and
red?
make the changes if this is what we're going to do on this.
So all calls for service emanating from any location in the county that is not currently covered by a mutual aid agreement will be given priority on a first received, first responded to basis while this temporary agreement is in effect.
Makes sense.
Can I bring up one more issue with this?
Certainly.
Can I suggest that when we send this to Mr. Tobin, and I think we're gonna call First Dillon's on his way, I think a cover ought to be on there and say, if we have not heard back from you within given whatever
Yes.
time we feel, it will be our assumption that you have rejected this, and we will seek whatever
Yeah,
other.
that's the better way to say it.
Something like that.
I-
Rather than saying we think you're gonna
We
put it into
assume that
effect.
you've accepted it.
Yeah.
If you do that,
We don't
then
hear back from you, we'll,
yeah,
yeah.
you don't wanna do
I'm
that.
not sure you
I think
can
I
do
like
that.
the other way,
The
cause it
problem
forces
is-
them.
I'm not sure you can
Yeah.
do that.
We'll know if you accepted it.
That's
if
what-
you
that's
send
what
a
they
copy
did
with
to
their
us.
signature on it.
Well,
Yeah, and I'd say probably, I agree with you 100%, maybe a cover
Time
letter
limit
with
on it.
45 days, or, cause we gotta give them time to have their next meeting,
That's
but
what I'm
30 days would be more than
Don't go
enough
past the 5th of
to
September.
go.
Well, I don't wanna go past September.
That's right, so you
Give
give
enough
them 2
time for us
weeks.
to take the action that we may need to take, so 2 weeks is
2
plenty.
weeks.
Well,
And if they need a special meeting of their district, so be it.
Well, yeah, wouldn't that be awful if they had to
That's why I
actually come
said
in
so
and
be
see
it, I
it?
mean,
when did
I'm
they
sorry, I'm
say
not
their
at
next
your
meeting
convenience.
was?
Don't know.
I got a feeling at this point, they're not gonna pull the plug on September 5th regardless. I think
They
their
already
their
have pulled
council
the
better
plug.
tell them they can't,
I don't know.
just from a liability point
I
of view.
still don't see what's changing on
and
September
that's the
5th.
thing, we didn't really
My
bring up
birthday.
to them the liability that they're exposing themselves to
That's right.
by
Which
doing this.
I think.
isn't really any of our business. I mean, if that exposure bled over into the county, then it would be.
But, I
Except
mean, that's
that
why they probably need to talk to a lawyer and
Right.
say, hey, wait a minute, you're
And
leaving
I
yourself
personally
open.
feel that we do have some culpability, because when you read that,
Because we're
because it
accountable in the
says that
first place.
we have the authority to transfer this to handle it, which puts some of that onus on us to make a decision
Well,
on what we wanna
we
do
sure
about,
wouldn't want
hang
them
on a
making
second,
mistakes.
what we wanna do about ambulances. So I think the suit will not just be against the West Custer County Hospitals, I think they're gonna sue us also because we're mentioned in the statute.
Well, the lawyer sues everybody anyway.
Well, I understand that, but we may have
How
some
they
culpability.
covered lunch.
Well, we could run it past CTSI and get their opinion
And
on
I
it.
think that's a great idea.
I think
I'm just
that's the right
concerned,
thing.
I mean,
Well, I like the idea of a cover letter. I didn't write down when their next board meeting was. I can figure it out.
I don't care personally.
It's
Their
the
next board
fourth
meeting
Thursday
is
of every month.
Fourth Thursday, okay.
Here's
We
another thought,
just went.
after you're done doing that.
Well, go ahead.
Their thought is, we're talking IGAs, or mutual aid agreements. See, they come up with this district boundary that's based on who's responding, basically, is what it is. What if in the 18 months, Pueblo bails out of a mutual aid agreement? And then that would, to me, force.
Back to the drawing board.
So what you could put in here is, or, you know, right now, we're stipulating you're gonna be doing it for anything that's not covered by a mutual aid agreement, which could include a new bailout. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
We don't wanna be
understand.
going through this because they're gonna say, we're not gonna cover it because we don't have an agreement,
I'm just,
or that we're
I get
forcing.
what you're saying, I'm not sure that
I don't
this
think anybody's gonna
particular
bail.
agreement,
But who knew
we don't
Florence?
need to cover what ifs at this point, we have a specific problem, we're covering that specific
I
problem.
was wanting to get through this 18 months.
Yes, if there's a new problem that arises, we'll handle that separately. That's kinda how I feel, but I'm willing to do whatever you guys wanna do.
So their meeting's the 22nd.
So we
Yeah.
2 weeks
then,
from tomorrow.
23rd.
Paragraph number 9. That statement's not really accurate. They will provide ambulance service to the lower Wetmore area if they have a second call crew available.
Is that true? I thought that that's what they're doing until September 5th, on September fifth, they're not servicing that area.
I don't have the letters that
Why do you
Lisa
need
Drew
paragraph
sent,
Yeah,
I
but
nine
don't
at
know
all?
what she
that
said.
letter.
I did.
Why is 9
but-
necessary? Because right now, all our, what we've stated so far is they will continue providing service in areas without the mutual aid agreement, you know. So I don't think you need 9,
This is
that's
very
getting too
important.
specific.
I may not have it in hard copy, but I know, as could you gentlemen, because you should have a record of it, right? Her email to us.
Right.
So,
What do you want?
the email that Lisa sent to us originally, with the September 5th date on it.
Find it.
You do?
I will have it. Lisa Drew, what day? September the 1st?
Wait a minute, she said it.
June
It's
6th.
actually,
The letter dated June 6th stated, "We will continue to respond to mile marker 20 and mile marker 15 on Highway 165 through September 5th.
yeah.
Wait a minute.
But that has nothing to do with lower Wetmore area. Mile marker 20.
So does that mean just that 3-mile stretch is
I don't
in
know.
question between now and then?
This is one of their findings since discovering this, the stuff mentioned ahead of time. We feel it is not appropriate for us to continue providing services on an ongoing basis to residents of Custer County who reside outside of the tax district. EMS will continue to respond to these areas for the next 90 days, ceasing response on 9/5. Okay,
Yeah,
so
see,
you're
I
right.
think on the 5th, they're not gonna go
No,
even
that's
second
exactly
call.
right. That's exactly right.
That's
So
right.
that
That's
statement,
the whole
So
point.
none of us better rack
right, so your statement's
below
accurate.
Kinsey
Crawl.
Junction.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have the.
So
agreement,
that even
so I'm
knows the
not sure
call out
what's-
guidelines then.
there's a
Pardon?
line.
That even knows their call
Right.
out guidelines.
Right,
Cause they're not even gonna go as mutual aid in that
Right.
area.
because they don't have a mutual agreement with anybody.
My understanding is,
Yeah.
let
See,
me
that's-
summarize this to make sure my little pea brain got this right.
She
Their-
had another
Their
letter.
intention is, through September 5th, they will go on a second, assuming a second ambulance that is available or who's coming in. After September 5th, I'm sorry, I went more this particular, outside the district, we're not responding, period.
Right.
That's the way I have understood this from the beginning.
She had another one that was interesting. She says, the second crew and the on-call crew are one and the same. We have a crew on shift 24/7. So if it comes east of mile marker 20 on 96, please tune out and request a second crew.
Until September 5th. So I wonder, Clint, on number 9, if we could just change that wording, and I'll explain why I think we should, has advised the county that it will no longer provide ambulance service to the,
Yeah.
to outside of the district as of September 5th. You have, will, that it will do so. I'd just like to firm that language up. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And has advised the county that it will
Mm-hmm.
no longer
Provide.
provide
Any.
EMS services outside of the
Beyond September.
hospital district.
I have a suggestion. Or in the area formerly covered by the MOU with
Mutual aid
Florence,
agreement.
because, yeah, mutually. Because right there, you know, they are providing outside the district if there's a mutual aid agreement.
Right,
But this is the area formerly
Right.
covered by
right.
Florence.
So that it no longer provides EMS services outside of the hospital district that is not covered by a mutual aid agreement. You're right, because
That's a better way of putting
that
it.
would say the whole Fremont County thing would be thrown into that, and that's
Right.
not accurate.
That's right.
Or San Isabel.
This is a mess.
They have mutual aid with San Isabel, they have a mutual aid with Rye Fire, Fremont County.
I know that both papers have published this issue, and I just would like to suggest that all three, are you a newspaper?
Online news.
Okay.
Well, but
All
we
three,
can't see
all
it unless we
three
subscribe, right?
information disseminating outlets that the county has.
Because that's kind
Stress to the
20 a
public,
year.
fully stress to the public how important this is, and the attitude and the approach that the hospital district's taking, including nobody, including me until this started, knew that an ambulance will never stop at our clinic. People don't know that. I'm having a heart attack. I
You're
don't
gonna take a
care
60-mile
which
ride,
medical
no matter
person's
who you
over
are.
there. I want someone beating on my chest as fast as possible. I don't wanna take a 50-mile ride to.
Well,
People would line up to beat on your chest.
The truth,
Trust me.
the truth
Careful
is,
what you ask
Jay,
for.
the truth is, Jay, if you're having chest pain, you don't want a basic crew taking you anywhere. You want advanced life support
And you
because
don't
they
wanna be in
can't
this
give you
clinic.
cardiac
May
drugs.
not have been a very good example, but my
You will
point
have
is,
more.
I had a fella who, I have a friend. The fella he fell off his motorcycle and he got a stick right through the center of his
What are you looking for?
foot.
Ow.
They took him to the clinic
What are you looking
and
for?
said,
Checking the
stabilize
spelling.
this until we can get him to Pueblo. They refused to touch him.
Right,
They
Right.
refused to just put
right.
in a whatever they would do. I don't know medical at all, but I felt they could have done something to stabilize until they refused. This is,
I
the
heard
public needs to know
I
this.
heard a call just within the last month about a guy laying in their Sally port. They had to call the ambulance to come to him, they wouldn't open the doors. Apparently,
If that's confirmed, and I would never ask you to speculate in any of the media outlets, the public needs to know what their 8 mil is funding, and it's funding basically nothing. Jay's opinion.
I've got one change I see in paragraph 8, when I said both parties to this agreement expressly acknowledge. That's vague to me, cause I was making reference to the agreement of January 3,
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
So I think we
At
should
that
insert
time, they
that.
agreed, both parties agreed.
Go ahead.
I think we should insert that, both parties to this agreement of January 3, 1989. That's the agreement I'm referencing, not this agreement.
Yeah, it comes across like that.
So how about to the agreement, not this, but to
Yeah.
the agreement
Of January 3, 1989.
The agreement is not January.
And I would change to this
Say
to
that
that.
the above
second
the
one.
agreement.
Both parties
Reference
agree
agreement.
that the agreement of 1989 expressly acknowledged that that agreement constitutes as valid.
Yeah.
And binding contract,
That.
or that said agreement,
Yeah,
lawyers
that
always
said
look at
agreement.
Well, you can
what it
say
said.
that.
I'll tell you
said
what,
agreement
I
would-
would say it twice, that the agreement of whatever 1989, and then say it
Sure, it
again.
restates.
Acknowledge that the agreement of 1989 constitutes, that way there is
Binding
never,
contract.
ever a discussion of what is this referred to. So I would put it in twice personally.
I agree.
I like said.
That's fine. You're the council.
Well,
That's
I'm
fine.
just not saying.
You're okay, so it's good with
So
me.
I
Yeah,
have
you
both
want-
parties to the agreement dated January 3, 1989 expressly acknowledge that the 1989 agreement constitutes a valid and binding
That's the way
contract.
I would say it, but I will absolutely defer to council anytime.
No, that's fine with me, it's not.
And the district, no, it's a valid binding contract between the county and the district with respect to ambulance service in the county, yeah.
That's clear.
I was just gonna say, what I will do until this whole ambulance thing is resolved is I will make sure any hospital district coverage or anything having to do with the clinic will be free. I will put it on the front page so everyone can access it.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Good girl.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? So I'm thinking that maybe we should authorize Clint to write a cover letter with a response date on it and
Let's take a
shoot
look at
this
it.
baby to him. we're not gonna have a chance to look at it.
Let's take a look at it.
And I'm fine with that, but
Send
I
it.
think it should have your
I don't have- I didn't
It should either
comment.
have, it should have one of the two. I don't think it should have Clint's signature, I think it should either have Tom or the three of us, either way.
Either, I don't care. Either.
I would think it should come from the chairman.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
fine.
I'm fine with that.
With that says the board
Yeah.
making it all three of you.
And it's their
Perfectly
board
fine.
responding that way.
So if he can write it and then get it to me, I will sign it and we will mail it. I'll send this
Send it back,
revised.
yeah.
Does that then become a public document that we can use?
Should.
I don't know the answer to that.
It's up to you guys, I guess. I don't,
I
well, I don't
think-
really know what to.
I think the
no.
cover letters would go along with the ID.
Agreement, right, I agree with you there.
Alright.
I would assume once we do that, it becomes a public document of
Public
the
record.
commissioners.
There's
Sure.
no issue, Sharon. In fact, I would be thrilled if you published it.
Yeah, it's part of the
Put it in
story.
its entirety.
Yeah, I'd publish it.
I,
The public needs to know what's
But
going on.
here's
It's
the
my
MOU
opinion, and I will never
in
tell
work.
you how, I will never
No, I
try to
agree.
manipulate the media, I will never do that. But
Oh, I will.
I won't, but I feel the public needs to know what's going
Well,
on.
it's all fake
Yeah.
news anyway.
Well, that's
all-
true. Maybe we need to get a Twitter account, seems like that's kind of effective.
only if people are on Twitter.
So I'm gonna send this revised edition to you.
And to me, yeah, please.
So then will you be sending it or will?
I will mail it, well, one of us will mail it to
Will you
you.
send it to us too, Ben, please?
I can, yes.
Thank you.
The revised, or.
Yeah, with the
final
cover letter.
version,
Oh, yeah.
Not this one.
Okay. All
And that's
hearts
the end
clear?
of my commissioner report.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move on.
Good enough.
Do you wanna take formal action on this by,
Yeah, I think we probably better,
okay,
don't you?
yeah.
I would move that we approve and authorize the chairman to send the proposed IGA to the clinic with a cover letter.
I'll
To
second
the
it.
board of directors. To the chairman of the board of directors, technically. We moved and seconded that we approve and authorize the chairman to send an IGA to the chairman of the hospital district board of directors for the discussion.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
I never wanna throw monkey wrench, but I'm concerned that we're taking action on a non-posted action, a non-posted item an action item that was not posted. I'm concerned about that.
Okay, I understand your concern. I think it's an action item that came out of a commissioner report. We have done that in the past. We vote to approve other things such as the VSO contract, although it's a little different cat skin, but, I don't think we're extremely outside of the realm of our
But we had,
policies and
I agree,
procedures.
because we did have a workshop that went through this in.
I'm fine, I just
Public
want to
knowledge.
voice my concern,
Right. No problem.
and if we feel it's not an issue, let's.
Noted. I don't, but,
Well, I just wanted the cover letter to be able to say the commissioners voted,
right.
to do this in the cover letter, so I feel better having it
Unanimously.
that way.
I'm fine, I was
Okay,
just
yeah,
concerned about
Good
procedure.
point, yep. I agree. Okay, we'll move on. Upper Arc.
Wait, you didn't
Oh,
vote?
Take the vote.
Oh, sorry, that's all right. We're still further discussion.
Public comment.
They actually don't get to comment on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will send an IGA with a cover letter to Mr. Tobin as the chairman of the hospital district. Okay, Upper Arc, water report. We received a memo via email from, actually, I think this came from Division II Water
Came
Court
from
Judge,
Court
not
Judge.
from,
Came from David
the
Custer.
referee.
I think that's how you pronounce his name, I don't know.
What's the last name?
Kueter.
I don't know who that is.
Extension motion. Council, Hollinger Law.
So this is the attorney for the San Isabel Land Trust filed this, David Cooter, on behalf of San Isabel Land Trust Protection. And San Isabel Land Protection Trust. And then the certificate of service was recorded by the Division II Water Court.
Said it was an unopposed motion for enlargement of time. So it was.
Right, this is in response to the letter that we and others sent to the Water Court requesting an extension from August 16th to October 15th. And it was granted. His signature's not on this particular copy, but it says the opposer's motion is granted. The opposers in this matter shall have until October 15th, 2019 to provide comments on the applicant's draft ruling and engineering. So, we were successful in our efforts to get an extension.
October 19th.
15th. On 2018 CW 3076 is the case number. I'd feel a little better if the judge's signature was on this document, but it's gotta be on.
Mine has this.
Oh,
No.
Here's the bottom, that's Cooter's, yeah.
I'm sorry, you're correct.
Yeah, so, anyway, feel good about that, getting that extension. That'll give some opposers additional time to deal with that. The other thing it says to me is that the opposers are getting a fair shake. It's not slanted towards the whole upper arc thing, so pretty excited about that. And then again, we have a meeting tomorrow up in Salida with Upper Ark. So other than that, that's all I've got for Upper Ark report. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. Attorney item.
I didn't do anything since yesterday.
Yeah, kind of stole your thunder there, didn't we, dude? Okay. I'm sure you've done something, but maybe not particularly that would relate to
I
it.
played ball with my dog and the dog won.
Oh.
We both went for the ball and her toenail got there before my hand.
Oh, geez.
They're about the same time.
Okay. Admin assistant?
No?
No? Okay.
She's forgotten this
I
already?
guess now, I'm gonna send all the agendas to Kelly. I'm doing that right now, actually, for the rest of August.
Oh, okay.
And so, if there's any changes or stuff, Kelly can do it.
We thought that might be better, since, so we don't have.
Okay.
Do this run
You
around a
good
little
with
bit.
that? I mean, you can
Yeah,
tell
we
me
talked
if
about it
you-
before. I think that's all.
So then,
I'll
And
still come in and
correspondingly-
check and things like that.
pardon?
I'll still come in and check and
Okay.
make sure, but if people come in to
Right.
be requested on the agenda, it makes sense that
Then I
Kelly
can
would
just
have.
add instead of
And
sending her
same
an
with us.
email.
We need
Yeah.
something on that agenda, contact Kelly, not at,
But I'll still
BOCC
come in
admin.
and, I have access to the email on my laptop, so I'm over there, but I'll still come in and make sure things are good.
Okay.
And then I'll still double check before the 24 hours before the meeting.
Okay, good.
The reason I wasn't here yesterday is because I had meetings in Pueblo for
Yeah,
Wednesday.
that's what I told him, so, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Public comment?
You know, I'm sorry, when you talk about attorney items, I did have something.
Okay, go ahead.
After the meeting yesterday, I put this in the email I
Oh,
sent to
yeah.
you, that Bill and I went up and talked to the assessor's
Oh, yeah.
office on that easement, that was in question as far as the Justice Center. And, I honestly, I'm sure the easement isn't being used, but it's there. And, we talked about getting an O&E report to see if there's anything recorded on that. I would almost guarantee there's nothing recorded, but having an O&E report now might not be a bad idea anyway, since if there are any clouds on the title or any problems, you know, we can address that now rather than waiting until it's time for the property to actually be signed over. So if you wanna do an O&E report on it, I think it might be worth the $70 to do it now.
And where's that come from?
I just go over to the title insurance company there where Brenda works now. Cause that's a pretty good price for an O&E, I mean, most places charge at least $100 for one.
Motion to that effect.
I'll move we do that, I think it's a good thing, just because, and I agree with Clint, it is got to, it's an easement that exists, there's nothing in it. It might be.
And what's O&E?
Okay. Ownership or, ownership and encumbrance report. It's not a title insurance policy, it's just to show who actually owns it and if there are any encumbrances like liens or, mortgages, anything else of record.
Thank you.
So it's been moved and seconded to, authorize Clint to pursue an ownership and encumbrance report from the title company. Further discussion, so I guess the questions I have is concerning this easement. Number one, who was the easement granted by and who was the easement granted to? It may come out in this.
It's on the subdivision plat. It would be granted to the county, or in this case, I guess it's in the town, so, for any, it's a utility easement for underground utilities.
Was it for Vivian de Parquet or no?
Yes, it's on that plat, and it's, I think it's on the, when they subdivided that into, parcels. I'd have to look at it again. I didn't actually look at the plat, the language, but easements are generally dedicated to the governmental entity for the use of, or for utilities.
So would it probably been granted by the original landowner?
It would,
Had owned it at the time.
and I'm sure it was Hager that did it, so they were granting the easement. Once
See
they
that.
grant it, they can't take
Right.
it back. It would have to be, and the town may wanna, vacate it or relinquish any interest it has into the, for that easement. And I don't think Black Hills, as long as it hasn't been used by any utility, my suggestion, we get it back
They are
over there and
looking.
just dig down and see if you hit anything. If there's some power lines there.
Always
we'll
bank on the back, we'll find it.
No, I honestly don't think anything has happened there, but,
Here's why we came to that conclusion, if you want to continue the discussion, because our property is here and here, and this is the, what was it, the ambulance barn, or was it
the ambulance barn is to the, west,
so,
search and rescue is to the
so
north.
this is current property here that they have, and so the easement runs along here and it comes down like that at a 90. And they ran power down here into this lot to fire up the building. This is an extension, because in the day that was gonna be houses on each side, and so there's nothing there. And there's no, and Black Hills can verify where the power comes in out here, and that's what RJ did. So they'll be satisfied with it, I think, and we'll know whether there's any other encumbrances on the whole thing, so I think it's a good thing.
Further discussion?
I think the money should come out of the Justice Center account that we have.
Okay. Donna just stepped out.
I can run her down.
Well,
What do you need?
I thought, no, it's okay, thank you. I thought that any money we put into that Justice Center went into capital improvement line item.
I don't remember.
I don't think we have a
So,
standalone Justice Center account, do we?
Just
I thought we
capital
did.
improvement, but
I don't know.
Not
That's a good question. It's
we
been
can
a
have
while
this
ago that we said it.
conversation with Donna.
Okay.
She comes back if you remember.
Then I'll.
She might take it out of, professional services. I think it's the attorney doing something. It's an expense I would be incurring, and
Right.
you'd submit it that.
Do
She
that.
has extra money in the, in the professional services.
That's
beyond-
probably a better place to take
I just don't believe we could take it out of our capital improvement, that's all I'm saying.
I didn't realize it was just
I-
earmarked that.
It may not
I don't
be.
know.
Yeah,
mean,
I don't either, really,
I believe
but
you're saying
I
that.
thought that's what
I
we.
think we did
decided,
set
so.
it up so we could protect the money.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Sir, if you would pursue that, that'd be
I
great.
will, I'll go see Brenda.
All right, any other public comment? If not, we'll move on to staff reports. Aeropuerto. Thanks for your patience, that conversation got a little
Morning.
extended.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Now that we can get on with our report.
Got
You're doing better, aren't you?
I like the way your new fuel dispenser works. Went out and got a 5-gallon can of aviation.
Works like a
fuel.
dream,
It
doesn't it?
does, doesn't it? Yeah. Last time around, he had to help me, but this time.
Couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I couldn't.
They had a braille system to find us.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I got things to do today.
Oh, you do? Well, we wouldn't wanna hold you up. I mean, if you want, we could postpone you until next
I
month.
like your style, Bob, 'cause we can press on.
The last thing we'd wanna do would be,
In July, we sold 717 gallons, which
Wow.
is good. Right now we have 2,217 gallons of fuel. And that's because on the 28th of July, Lynn and I were out there at 7:30 at night receiving a load of fuel. So it was a good month.
So how many gallons did you take?
2,000, well,
2,000.
1,900 and,
99.
yeah, whatever it was.
So you're always sharing a load,
Yes.
is the question. It's a 6,000 gallon tank,
No,
or
yes.
6.
It's a 6,000, which means we can put 5,400 in.
Right, okay, so you took half of it.
Yeah. So as far as fuel sales goes, it was a good month, but it was a really bad month for a lot of damage that happened at the airport due to the storms. Got a call one Saturday morning and was told that we had no water at the airport. So we went out there and we didn't have any water. Both gates were open, phone was dead, and the internet was dead. So far we've gotten the water issue fixed. It was a blown fuse, not a circuit breaker. It was a blown fuse. And we got the gate issue fixed. We had a loop detector module burnout. We've gotten the phone fixed. We got a new phone. And the internet is still down. So I'm gonna go and talk to our IT guys because he put in a new router yesterday.
He said he fixed it.
no, he said he was going to go out and work
I thought
on
he
it.
was down there.
He went out and put in a new router and then some other box.
That's right.
It's still down. But we did get a new riser for our
Septic,
sewer system and
septic
a
tank,
new
good.
lid on it. And we got the road put in for filter coming up.
Did you dig out that material that was on top of that lid?
Yeah,
Had to
Before you put
get
that
the
new riser
riser.
on? How much was in there? roughly?
not much.
Okay.
It was just
enough to cover it,
yeah,
huh?
just enough to cover. And the lid is on there.
Good.
We even painted it
Nice.
Color you paint.
white. But anyway, and
A quick question on the gates.
yeah,
When they fail either open or shut.
Open.
Do they automatically go open?
yes, they automatically go.
So you can, in an emergency, fail.
Right, right.
Is there an override manually anyway?
Yes, you can override it.
And can anybody do that? Or do you have to do it?
Anybody could do it if they knew how. Just go in and flip the switch.
And that was lightning
Yes,
also, so it burned out the loop thing on the gates or?
yeah. One module, there's 4 modules in internal and external loops on both gates, so there's 4 modules that turn one up. And
Yeah.
that happened one other time about 6 years ago.
You stocking a spare, right?
You know, they're expensive, unfortunately. We also, because us older people don't like to lift up 5-gallon fuel tanks, we bought a fuel transfer pump so we can put a hose in our fuel and transfer it up to the tractor. So I tried it out yesterday and it sucked 5 gallon
Before you could turn it off.
in less than 10 seconds.
Really? Jeez.
It's
Yes.
electric,
Electric.
battery operated.
Yes.
Made to
So
throw
just hook
a
it
fuel
to
in an
battery or
airplane.
whatever.
So there's a battery.
Before we move on too far then from your damage report, I thought you were going back to that. Do you have a cost estimate? Is this something we should consider submitting to the insurance company?
The total is gonna be about probably less than $100.
Oh, okay.
But it's just a pain to have to
Right.
to get all this stuff and order it and get it to come in. The module was $72, pay $40 for a phone.
Okay. When you said it was expensive, I thought, well, if
Yeah.
we're talking a
Well,
couple $1,000
no,
bucks, maybe we
just
ought to
pass
consider sending it to the insurance.
What about the router? Who's paying for that?
I'm sure it'll come out of IT.
IT.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we're good.
Sorry, go ahead.
We got, hangar being, foundation poured this coming Saturday. And, the lady that does the erosion control inspections came out a couple. Friday, yeah. And she went down and took pictures of the berms that had been removed, and she said that we may not have to reseed.
I know it, that's what she told me.
So-
That's good news.
I thought that was good news. Maybe we can
We'll
avoid
see
some
on it.
of the expense.
Mhm.
And, that is it.
Okay. So, even though it's on the airport land, still have to have a building permit, right?
Yes, we got a building permit.
Yes, sir, I did.
I've seen that building permit.
Which reminds me a little bit, as far as, you got a trailer on your new hangar lot, right?
That's still on county law.
Oh, it is?
It will go under my law when I can.
Okay, I just curious. I know that across the street, there's zoning that says you can't be camping in your trailer, so
Yeah,
I know that's different. So I just wanna make sure Jackie's.
I've had no parties in my trailer.
Okay.
All right, sir, thank you, appreciate it.
I knew you weren't, I just wanted to make sure everybody
Thanks
understood.
for coming in. Now you can go take care of that important stuff.
Yes, take care of my honeydew list.
All right,
The,
thanks, sir.
If I might, just gonna throw in real quick, we're waiting on the insurance for the courtesy home to hear back from Doug Meyer.
And the date on the fly-in again?
24th.
Well, by the way, that reminds me, BOCC is flying in on that day, and I told them to be there between 8 and 9, so that because it's gonna get heavier traffic probably during the day. So you guys are gonna have to be there and make sure that you're making sure everybody stands clear, gets them up onto their little white block. And then it is, his wife, I'd like to present, just to shake their hand and thank them for all the things they're doing somehow, a little ceremony. It's his wife's birthday, don't let that get out, it's a secret.
Kinda like mine.
Yeah.
7 o'clock?
Yeah, it is.
What time is the fly-in?
7 a.m.
7 a.m., thank you.
Yeah.
So, we'll present them, we'll just talk to them about it. Kidding. Alright?
Mom's the word.
On what date, the 29th?
24th.
24th.
Thanks for your contribution, that's so
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you, Bet.
Thank you, guys.
See ya. OEM, of course, that announcement just went live on video stream, so I hope the whole county will keep it a secret.
There are only a couple of us that
Good
want.
morning.
Hi.
Oh, looky here.
I didn't even
Good
get a
morning,
chance
ma'am.
to stand
Your
up
first
for it.
official report.
I know.
Yeah, how about that?
Alright, so let's burn her while
Yo, yeah,
Oh, no.
we'll hammer her.
Everybody always forgets me, so I'm the potted plant now.
Oh. Yeah, it's been an interesting first month. My first Monday on the job was a tornado and flooding and rock slides that happened on hardscrabble. So it was good. Yeah, the last couple weeks has just been kind of getting feet under me. Some things that fell through, making sure that those were caught up. The mini grant for the coroner, that I sent in that reimbursement and everything, so that's good to go.
trying to think, the quarterly report sent into, for the state, for the EMPG grant, that funds part of our, department, so that's all good now. Just waiting back to hear it's been, accepted or not, we'll see.
On the corners.
Oh,
Or
the
on
corners, that's all good. I'm just waiting to hear. The good thing about the corners, is that there's a little extra, I think it's 147.20 extra that they're gonna cover, which is nice, more than what was requested or granted.
And we're talking about the radios.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was for, coroner's radio and some accessories I don't know what of it.
Because Cindy had submitted a request for a vehicle.
Yes, so
We wanna
that
make sure
goes
we're talking
under.
about two separate things
Those
here.
are two different, yeah, so that is the Homeland Security grant for, I think 2018, 2019. So that funds, they won't come up or have anything, we won't have anything due for that we have to do
Right.
till September.
Nor will we have any word on that, correct?
I
On the
believe it's
vehicle.
been, accepted.
Oh, okay.
We just, that funding doesn't, it's a different
Yeah.
timeline within all of that. So, right now, the 2018 is the, grant for, the fence around, sheriffs, so that's gonna be closing out soon. We had 2, bills from that, I think this last time, so, just waiting for that. And then, yeah, the 2019 is gonna be the coroner vehicle.
Right, yeah, I see that now. And let me just mention something. We need to, as we move into our budget period this year, we need to remember that we're gonna have to have a match,
For that.
for that.
Yeah.
$13,000.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
That's all on grants. Yeah, so I did some meetings with South Region, that tornado and flooding response, updated all our rapid tag, salamander, which is all our credentialing for the county. Our salamander, so all the different IDs that we get as county employees, that's within that system.
I knew it, I
Yeah,
just didn't remember.
yeah, and then along with that system is rapid tag, so if we have to do evacuations or anything like that, we can give cards to, the citizens so we can come back in and do a whole credentialing system
Wow.
within that. Yeah, and then also our support that comes in, credentialing them for that for that amount of time, so, cause there'll be new faces. We met with National Weather Service and Christy Coleman to see the damage and stuff from tornado.
Where was that at?
We met at the SAR building and then
Okay.
went and
Did-
toured it.
Did a site tour.
Yeah. Met with Dennis Page and kinda talked to him about coordinating, he's with, the Forest Service.
Yeah, you went to Pueblo?
No, he came here.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
And so he's based in Canyon. So we met here. The kind of the truck, so OEM truck, I had to get a new battery. Road and Bridge did all of that for me, which was good. And then had the oil pan gasket is leaking, but that's under warranty. And so I have an appointment scheduled the 15th to go to them for recall stuff and then also to fix that, which will be good. And then the documents that I did give you guys earlier, it's the letter from their site visit that they had, I think it was in April or May. And through that site visit, it was from basically like an audit, but they don't call it an audit, from the EMPG funding.
Documents, you're looking at both
Yeah.
documents,
Yeah,
okay.
so, they had different observations and different things that we had to, kind of,
Clean
so-
up a little bit,
yeah,
huh?
so, and most of it was all CF, what is it, 2 CFR, 200 and with our grant. So, one was having a PII, a personally identifiable information policy. So I drafted one, the county didn't have one at all, and so, just drafted that, and you can y'all wanna look it over, and we can put it on the,
Who brought this up?
so the state,
Stay tuned.
so the people that come for our, reviewing for the EMPG,
Oh,
yeah, so that was one of them, and then adding within our purchasing policy, some language on, a little bit more language on the 2 CFR 200, and
I
then,
see.
I think that was all that they were really focused on. So, I made some drafts on that, on our purchasing policy as well, but I don't, not, fully cemented on those, and so, but this PII policy is pretty set.
Did you
I drafted
submit this already?
No,
Okay.
so, in the submission that I did give to the state was that they're all in the workings and be in 2020, that they would be.
So is this a
Adopted.
countywide policy for everybody that works for the county?
It would have
Just-
to be, yeah.
That's what I was saying, so we need to go run that through Donna.
Right, so I already
Come
gave
in,
this to
Get
Donna
it to us.
before, so this was me just submitting it to you
Okay,
guys to
good.
review.
So ultimately, the commissioners need to approve it.
We need to
Correct,
ask them.
yeah, it needs to be a policy that's added in or annexed into our purchasing policy.
Sure.
And especially with the more grants that we're gonna get and more funding with the justice center and things like that, these need to be in place in general. It just was brought to my attention through the EMPG program.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing
Yeah. I think that's.
And it had to kinda do it under a deadline too, huh?
Correct.
We just
Yeah.
fell through the cracks between our transition
Correct.
periods, so. Before she ever took over as the OEM manager, she being Meredith, obviously, hammered these out and got them submitted, so kept us out of some hot water there.
Yeah.
So you gave him a rough draft of this already?
Yeah, so I did attach it to the, this letter here is what I sent back to them. And in the charge it gave our, the recommendation, what we're gonna do for that.
And so you said that
So I,
we're
as a draft,
considering this as a
and it's
draft?
being
Okay.
sent to the commissioners.
Good deal.
That's all I have.
So I got one thing that
Sure.
came up, and that was, on that rescue or that recovery of the body.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to the, colonel that's the deputy for the group,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to come up here at some point and give a recognition to everybody that was involved, because he thought it was extremely well handled and
That's great.
professional.
Yeah, they did really well.
And he wants to make sure that they were recognized, including Cindy, when she,
Mhm.
so we're gonna have to keep track of where she is.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll work that, so maybe, do you have the phone number back there, do you have that card still? I'll get it for
For,
his name and number. I've
I
got it.
wasn't ever in contact with them, that was Cindy with them.
So, I'll get it to you, and maybe you can coordinate with them on when they wanna come up here, and they wanna sit down and be probably after work hours, or, for dinner,
Mhm.
or sit down with a
So Chelsea.
social deal,
Yeah.
and recognize everybody.
Yeah, I know,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe, I was gonna suggest maybe during the BOCC
Yeah.
meeting, that way it could be live streamed and everybody who's watching could take part in the recognition with,
Yeah,
with
cause I
numbers.
Could do
know
that.
part of search and
Depends
rescue.
on when they can come, though, that was
Yeah.
all.
Well, I understand that, but
So
it'd
if
be
we could
nice.
work out the 30th, Search and Rescue was gonna come and talk about the PILT funding request that they had maybe a month or so ago.
Mhm.
So if it would work out for them, for the colonel, on the 30th to come, that would be good,
Well,
cause they
I'll
would
get
be
you the
here
numbers
anyways.
and you can
Sure.
talk to his aide, his, exec.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be awesome. They did a really good job. I've been trying to draw some lines within emergency management, to show that when, as an OEM, to step in. Cause I don't step in on a normal fire, and I don't step in on, it's only when it gets to a certain point, the threshold. And Search and Rescue is really good about ordering the right resources at the right time, and they have it really dialed in. And so, I kinda helped within some public information within that mission, but didn't step in on the ordering resources, cause they had that
They had that
dialed in really
nailed,
well.
yeah, and that's what impressed him.
Yeah. They did really good.
Okay.
Two things.
Mhm.
Is there anything, now that you've kinda got your feet a little wet, anything you need from us that you don't have that
Not at this moment. I think now that I have everything that should have, like, that was due right away taken care of, I can kind of look forward and where I want to take some things. It would be really great. I'm going to talk to Christy Holman and Miss Cindy Flower about the CERT program to bring back into the schools. I don't think we're ready for it this year, but getting it in for next year would be really great, and getting that process started. So whenever I get those things, there probably will be some things maybe, but right now,
Good.
And is our temporary contract with Cindy Howard, is that finished now?
Yes.
yeah, so, I think the last thing she did, it was the first week that I started, finished out the quarterly report, since I wasn't a part of it at all. And so that was her last,
Great.
project to do.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, our motion was to retain her on an hourly basis until we hired an OEM manager.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we're honoring that.
Yeah. Okay, very good, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And thanks for doing double duty.
There you go. Oh, yeah, the new, it was this.
I was waiting for the chocolate report.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, where is that stash? I couldn't find it yesterday.
I'm busy with tornadoes.
So gentlemen, if you refer to the public health report that was sent to us electronically, Leslie Livengood is in Colorado Springs today, unable to be here. Asked if we would review this. If we had any questions, we could certainly refer those to her or to Meredith.
I read it, I felt it was comprehensive, and I'm fine accepting it the way it is without any.
I am too, and it was a good job.
I don't know that we need a motion to accept it, do we?
No.
No, I don't accept any others. I'm
No.
fine with it.
Well, we do, but BSO only because that has to be submitted to the state.
Right, but for example,
Yeah.
we don't, just normal monthly
Right.
reports, we don't.
Yeah.
So, and that's all that is,
Yeah.
that's not a request for a state document.
Okay, good, thank you.
Can I suggest that we make a change in the schedule since, Ms. Guinevere is here?
You can send me back upstairs.
Again, get out of here and come back.
We go ahead, since she's here now and HR finance is not, that we
Did you just call me?
Yeah, she may answer too.
Okay.
change that order.
Just tell her we're gonna go ahead with, yeah, that's fine.
That's okay.
I thought she was on the phone, I didn't know if she got a hold of her or not, with Donna.
Go ahead.
Just
So we'll go ahead, okay, yeah. Ms. Guinevere, good morning,
Hi,
how are you?
Clint, I'm gonna start with you.
Well,
How are
thank
you,
you.
sir?
My day.
Check your palm.
Yeah, I know, are you
Check your pockets, Mo.
Yeah, that's right.
How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry
It's a
about
long
the
one.
mix-up, yeah, that's right. So we did get your letter.
Oh, good.
I was sharing with these gentlemen this morning that the final tabulation on the livestock sale was $186,000.
Yeah.
I got an email this morning, the Fremont, Chaffey County livestock sale was $250,000. Their numbers were comparable to ours, it was
So
amazing.
we're crushing it, is what you're saying?
Yeah, we're doing pretty well for a small county, that's right.
Awesome.
Yep, okay, so anything exciting, new, concerning, or anything else?
No, I don't have a list of, county fair results. We had some, I think we tried to do American judging and Danish, so we're still a little trying to work those out, reviewing some of the projects, if they're awarded and things like that appropriately and stuff. I can tell you, as far as shooting sports, the actual shooting, we have 4 kids going to state fair or state shoot for track, 3 for archery, and livestock, we have 14 kids.
I was gonna ask how many go in the state.
Yeah, and 23 animals, and the reason we know shooting sports and livestock you have to submit, I think beef is in like May, and then June is for all the other like goats and sheep and stuff, so we already know what they're gonna do.
So it wasn't based on whether they won or not out of here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. cause you can't send the same animal, darn it, some of those kids would do really well. And then the shooting sports was really great, and we have just some really good shooters right now, so, and archers. So that's
So I see
exciting.
in your letter you have 22 indoor shooting sports projects. Indoor.
So,
Oh, got you.
yeah, that's part of their participation is to create something to be evaluated.
Right. At the county fair.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They
Doesn't
did.
mean they're shooting indoors all
No.
the time.
No, that would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Wonder why you were,
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna ask that.
Yeah.
They display a board or some kind of a project.
Yeah, some of them made like archery stands or like cool targets or things like that, so it's pretty neat. So yeah, that's what we're up to upstairs, trying to get everything submitted for state fair. And then also we really want a big awards banquet since we didn't have them last year, so trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of eyes upon the extension office to see if that's gonna happen or not.
Oh,
So,
it will happen.
thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that.
You're
I figured it
welcome.
would.
Yeah, it's
Stick it
good.
on the calendar and have it, whether
Yeah.
they show up or not's their business, yeah. You cannot please 70-some families, so.
No, I'm learning that.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. Thank you
Yeah.
for doing that.
Yeah, I think, we've had people really excited about it come in and just mention that they're, oh yay, I'm really glad,
Good.
so we're just also trying to communicate improvements for the fair and the rule book and things like that for next year. We'll just work with all of our partners on that, I'm really excited to get that. We gotta have extension advisory committee and kind of make all those recommendations together.
You don't know when that's scheduled for?
The 20th of this month. Right here in this room with you.
Oh, really?
Yes, we're gonna be using your room, fellas.
Interesting.
Point of view, you said 14 livestock kids, and how many animals?
Over 23, I just was doing that off the top of my head
Okay.
while waiting. And so people can submit multiple beef or things like that, yeah.
So let's go back to the 20th.
Okay,
Extension advisory, what time?
4:15. Did you say 20? 20. When did Dave Matthews being council on the 23rd? I know.
So what is it now? Again, it's the advisory, what?
Extension advisory committee meeting.
Committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to Aaron Watson concert? Stays
Sorry,
there.
no, Dave
Trashy.
Matthews. Dave Matthews took precedence.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, on the 23rd. you
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get you tickets either, by the way.
Oh. Yeah.
Come
on.
We never filled that up. And then obviously you'll evaluate the fair and all that with those folks.
Yeah, what I hope to do is look at like each course and what can we do better, dog show, what can we do better, we'll talk about this, but, and just go through each of those kinds of bigger disciplines and, what I saw that could be improved, what other people think can be improved, and really just collaborate on improving it overall, so.
Since we have a member,
Yes.
I want to throw a thought out. Historically, the 4-H Foundation kind of ramrodded the banquet, the awards banquet. I wonder if that's something that the Extension Advisory Committee could do.
What was the question I had?
I'm gonna guess there are a lot of people in this county that, number one, certainly doesn't know who's on it and probably doesn't even know that it exists. That might be a cool activity to.
So you're asking to like solicit for assistance to plan and put on the
Yeah,
award
put on the
thing?
whole thing.
Yeah, the extension advisory, or the
Foundation.
foundation hasn't done it for a while.
No, cause they're gone, they're done, they
Yeah,
don't exist.
but even
really.
when they were still
Oh, they
around,
had,
they did.
okay.
They provided the money for it,
Ah,
but, the extension office always did the planning.
no, so.
So who did the legwork?
I bet the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just have families that brought food
Or,
and
for
stuff,
desserts.
yeah, they ordered all the, and 4-H leaders helped.
We
It's
still
kind
do
of a-
have access to all that foundation money, via CSU, so they're still holding it for Custer County to
Yeah.
use for
Right.
this kinds of stuff.
So, trophies, plaques, whatever.
Correct.
Okay. Just a thought.
yeah.
Okay, very cool. Anything else, ma'am?
I just, Jay Prince, you're off the list, but everybody else needs to buy raffle tickets, come on,
Excuse me, I don't see how he is off the
He's
list.
bought some, Kelly
Oh,
bought
so
some.
apparently if you,
Twice.
if
Yeah.
you buy some,
Jay
you're
bought
off
for
the
me
list.
too, that's why he bought twice.
How much are they?
Twice.
Yeah, you get 5 tickets for $20.
I'll trade you 6 tickets for a rifle.
You're giving me a rifle?
No, you can buy one from me.
Okay.
Trump.
Better, yeah.
What is it called?
Not a rival, a raffle ticket.
Raffle,
Right,
raffle
raffle.
ticket
Oh.
for a
I
rifle.
was like,
yeah.
I don't know how that
You
works,
wanna
but.
you wanna buy a ticket, I'll buy yours.
I'm assuming you think Mrs. Flowers already bought some raffle tickets, and that is not true. Mr. Flower bought the raffle tickets and she put her name on them.
Well,
So now, Mr. Prince and myself,
to buy his own, then I agree with you.
Mr.
yeah.
Prince and I are both off of the list, cause I've
Can I
already
give you $20
purchased
now
tickets,
and get
thank
off the
you.
list?
Yes,
Your name?
yes.
That
I am
doesn't
off
matter
the
whose
list.
name
Yes,
it
I
is.
saw your name, you're off the list.
I would receive, I can take care of this.
That's who they
Yes,
are.
hustling.
Look for me back when you
Okay.
Well, I'm getting ready to buy
Yes,
it twice, and
there
I
we
don't
go.
like
There
it.
you go.
Hey, I have
Small
a
candy money.
It's called a new apartment for
This
her.
is all the money that would have been spent on candy. I just wanna go on the record. So now, Commissioner Prince is getting ready
I'm
to,
doing it
Oh, doubling down.
Oh,
Yes.
Triple down. I'm
Triple
only
down,
for
you are
twice.
tripling
Uh,
down.
I
This will be the
said-
third time.
I
But isn't
said-
it 5 raffles, so
Competition
you're
year.
like even way more now?
Madam,
Yes.
I insist my name goes on these tickets, so I'm off the list.
You're
Is that
off the
clear?
list now.
Okay. That's the last $20 I have.
I'll buy you lunch, Tom.
Wait a minute.
What
Wait a
time?
minute, that doesn't
What
count.
time?
No,
Jax,
that
you wanna
can't
come?
That doesn't work.
What time? Okay, not what day, what time? All right, anything else? I'm sorry I asked. Cost us $80, just like
Way to
that.
raise $100 that way. Good job.
That's what you hired me for.
I'll be in to give you a raffle ticket too.
So here's just a few things. I do a lot of site visits, and what I'm trying to do is go out with a notebook, blah, 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 take notes, things like this. And then what I return to them is this follow-up report where we talked about list of references and things. And so that's kind of what I've been developing upstairs. And then we have to report back to CSU. These are all the kind of areas that I am supposed to report on. So I was really excited. So far it's been really helpful. And then this vesicular stomatitis virus just brought some information, and I hung some out there. And I looked at the counties infected, mostly equine and only 1 cow. But it's not necessarily a death sentence, but it's certainly something about controlling flies and then controlling animals that drink together. So I figured you guys are all kind of in the cattle worst
They know all
business.
about vesicular stomatitis,
Okay,
not an
there you
issue.
go. So
Yeah, it is.
I missed that, and I just leave it like it is. Okay.
I'm on the fight with Mr. Prince, he cost me $20 this morning, so.
Good job.
Okay, and
But
so.
I kicked in my money.
I know,
Yes,
I
yes.
know,
Yep, that's all that I have. We get a lot of reimbursements, so Donna.
Yeah.
Just because I haven't asked you this in a while, we treat you okay? You're
Yes,
happy?
yes, it's really
Because
good. I'm
we're
glad
very
to.
happy too.
Yeah, I've been glad to get through fair. Everybody had was like, oh, fair. Wasn't that bad. I was exhausted, but it wasn't.
yeah, a lot of time in it.
Yeah.
So how long you been in the saddle now?
Started January 2nd, so 7, 8 months.
Good. And CSU's happy, I know we were kind of probation.
I never hear from them, so I'm gonna assume that they're happy.
And their support, their money's coming.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, so.
Been getting paid regularly.
Yes, thank goodness, otherwise you would have heard from me.
Just pay another $100.
Yeah, I know. She'd be coming for more money.
And I'm really feeling like there should be some kind of a disclaimer about you can't just come in here and,
Ask for money?
I wanna say scam, but that's not really, would be the.
It's for
Not-
the youth
so
of
that's-
Custer
Not
County
you,
Farm.
but anybody that happens to be watching that camera, because I'm telling you, they already do.
Alright.
All right, thank you, ma'am, appreciate it. Gentlemen, I'm sorry you spent your money unwisely, 'cause
I
I
am
will win
not.
that pickup.
You
I've already
did.
bought the winning ticket.
You did, I know, I hope somebody from here, but I
Sure
was
you
it.
did.
Actually, I want
Oh, you
Oh, fight,
Oh, Jackie
fight,
told
I
fight.
guarantee I did, I never ever
did? Thank you. All right, Human Resource Finance.
Donna.
Welcome, welcome. For the, third time this morning?
It's okay, except when she did it the last time, I was, doing the
morning.
postage machine.
Oh, you were upstairs,
Yeah, I
huh?
was upstairs.
Ah. Okay, and we're scheduled to meet later today? Oh, no.
I did not know.
Okay, I never got confirmation back one way or the other, so.
And we could, if, I gave everybody a copy, just so you could look at, to see if those forms are
I'd
something you
prefer to
want.
just go through that real quick, if you don't mind while
Yep,
you're here.
absolutely.
Before you do that,
Because, yeah, it could be just that easy.
Yeah,
did you find your lost bill holder on that?
Yes,
Who was it? Who did it? What is it?
well, and it wasn't
USDA?
to collection, it's just the way they write the bill, that it's a bill for collection.
I know
So that was a
was
good,
bad bill.
yeah, it seemed really horrible, but it was
Something we do
for,
normally.
USDA.
USDA.
No.
Yeah.
For the
Collection.
job re-eradication.
on
How's
there.
that what it was for?
Yeah. So, just, it was a little, sounded a lot more harsh than,
Yeah, it did. Sounds
Yeah.
like we've been vagrants.
that's what I thought too, and I got, oof.
Okay.
First, on the first page, this is where you contemplate what the raises would be.
Okay, we're going, you jumped a cog on us.
Oh,
You handed us this and we were
well,
looking
that's
at it.
just the normal
So-
yearly,
Yeah.
monthly
Where we
So
stand.
the stuff she gave us
Yes.
this morning
on
on the
there.
budget.
And you know, I
This
can't
is just
scan
an
that to
up-to-date,
you.
right.
Most commissioners prefer to have it where they could write on it and carry it with, cause you can't read it on their phone. But,
Okay,
I like hard copy.
I got a question, just so I don't forget this. The $70 for
Yeah,
the O and E
I was gonna
report.
ask about
Okay,
that.
that's fine.
but let's go ahead.
Alright, well,
So we've authorized Clint to find a ownership and encumbrance document on the Justice Center land. So we were thinking to pay for that out of legal,
yeah, that works fine
$70.
on
He'll
there. So
submit
this way I
that
won't
on
be
his-
asking
just-
why I have that
right.
bill.
Yeah,
We'll just submit it on your
I'm
monthly.
gonna go over and order it from Brenda, and I'll
Okay,
have her
perfect.
send the bill to you, but it'll come out of legal or professional
This
services,
is the 304.
$70. There should be another one coming in, I ordered it some time ago on, those lots we sold to the Burtons up there, and he was having real problems on that. He called me several times, we talked about that, but he was gonna put together a letter. He said it wouldn't really be an O and E report, cause it looks like those particular lots never ever sold in the first place, even though it was subdivided. That, nobody ever bought them, so it really goes all the way back to the original patent when the land was first bought from the government. But he was gonna put it in a letter and send it and charge $70, so I'll check on that.
Okay. Yeah, so again, I think off the top, we need to just remind everybody that our budget hearings are October 15th through the 18th. We changed that. So that's when they are currently scheduled for, Tuesday through Friday. Somebody asked me about budget hearing on Monday. I said, no, we don't have a budget hearing on Monday.
Is that like Columbus Day?
Columbus Day, yeah, my calendar says Columbus Day, but aren't they changing that to something, another name?
Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Indigenous, what?
That hasn't been formally
Indigenous Peoples'
changed.
Day?
Peoples' Day.
Well, they didn't have anything to do with him coming over here, so I don't know what that's all about. But
And
otherwise-
eventually be changed to hate all white supremacists and white privilege day.
Depending who you talk to, whether that's
Yeah.
real or not.
We digress a little, don't we? Yeah, so.
So what day we
If
really
you
doing?
read the
When
history
did-
of
15th through the
Columbus,
18th.
you'll see why you throw out his
Has nothing to do with the Columbus
holiday, excuse my French.
15 through 18.
But people kept thinking it was Monday, and it's not.
Yeah, it is, I'm looking at it.
So this is the packet you're gonna send out to everybody.
If you like the forms, and some of the forms are, a little much, so if you want those removed,
Okay,
I am only partial to one form in the whole thing.
okay,
and
well, let's go
that-
through them page by page real
Okay.
quick, all right? So page one,
And that's the budget notes,
right,
and that's helpful, actually, it's more helpful for the person doing the budget than you guys, but at least you can have a quick overview.
Did you revise anything after going through this last time, cause we had, people had suggestions and things?
And these are what
And reflecting
people, and then
everybody's
some of the
comments.
forms I just left out that they
Okay,
thought
okay.
were
Good.
ridiculous. So, and that was,
right. So then the preparation
you know, that,
instructions page.
yeah,
Cause those page one and two, like you say, were notes for the,
notes, and,
okay.
you know, it's just helpful if you can remember.
Right.
And the instructions, it's not necessary, but it just lists the names of what I have to do so that I know.
Is there any document in here that says you must have these returned by a certain date?
Only the cover letter
Okay.
on the top, which will
No
tell them,
later than.
Oh, yeah, okay, got it, sorry.
and will tell them their, what the raises that you,
Okay.
are mulling over.
Okay, and this letter's coming from you,
It does.
not from us, correct?
Right.
And that's how it always was, not that that's.
Nope,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
fine, I was just, are you okay with the language, has it been a problem I'm asking that I received them back versus
Well, you know
these
me, my
documents
writing.
will be returned by, I mean, it's up to you. If you haven't had any trouble getting them, then we don't have to worry about it.
Just
Maybe
say-
that's where the question
If they
is.
hadn't, you could just say must be returned.
Yeah, numbers would be my forte, not the,
Okay.
So do we, do you have any backup for the 10% that, did CTSI suggest to us there's gonna be a 10% increase, or did you just assume it might be?
that was about 2 months ago, it was going to be 10. I will contact them again before I put this, because it's based 100% on utilizations, and I mean, sometimes it's 17 to 25%. So, yeah, because we're not in, we're a small pool, and so it really, our yeah, it is, you have it, you pay for it, and then you use it, you are penalized.
Okay, the decision package sheet. It's not numbered, so it's after all the second set of notes, budget notes. So, decision package, meaning they decide, they're making a decision on what they're gonna budget, I'm not really sure what
Well,
decision
and
package
this one was
means.
one that nobody really liked, this form. The only part that was nice on this, and I think it could be achieved on that second page of the new program. Because if you, let's say at the budget hearings you decline it, which is fine, they would have written this and they could say, you know, this is the third year you have declined this for me, just so they could have a little more teeth or
Right.
something that they wanted.
So if Kelly's office is coming to us for a budget request for a new program, this is the page she would
Right,
use.
and that way, and if you okay it, fine, but if not, she could use that as backup to say that
It's okay.
the third year.
We
that-
might have said last year, bring it up next year, we can't afford this year, but we'll seriously look at, I mean, we
Right.
tell people that many times, so.
And that way
And
it's
it's
kind of
appropriate
in
that
a-
they remind us that,
Yeah,
sure.
okay,
But
Still
it
look
doesn't
good.
need to be quite as,
okay.
filled out to the
Right.
need, but kind of nice.
Are we to assume every department in the county is gonna go through these paperwork and fill it out?
A lot of people, actually just have, ginormous spreadsheets that takes the place of all this, and that's fine as well. Just so,
So this is an option.
yes, that it's, but a lot of people just fill out the little budget page and then tell you nothing, and then you don't know if it was extra staff or which way, and so it's just more, and I like it that prior year I pull it out and see what I did and why I asked for it, what was pulled, what was backed out, that I need to up it to, because I've went cheap one year and not the other. But,
So a good chance we will not see this documentation from everybody.
if there's anything new, capital, ones, anything that is different that you would really need to think about beforehand, you will have well in advance, so that you could visit
From
with them.
them or from you?
I would send it to you, so you could call them up and say, gosh, that seems a lot, or,
Are they gonna do that, or are they gonna want you to do that? That's what I'm getting at.
I just always do it. I've never required that they do that. I did it as a help for your end to be able to make a decision
Sure.
easier.
As long as you're okay with that, I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
once they do.
Okay.
And a lot of times, most of them kind of flow in gently, 2 a day, where I can ship that to you at the time, and you can kind of have time to digest it, not, $8 million all at
Right.
once.
Not everybody's like me, but I'm sliding in at the last minute.
You're
Probably
never
most
at the last.
everybody is, yeah. So I like to see that position sheet. I'm sure we'll get 1 or 2 of those on the FTEs, so.
Right, and that way you can. The one thing in the budget I did, mark is Road and Bridge never had their staff listed out. And last year that was a request, and so they're now listed that way, so really you can tell if someone's added or not, because they would not have a slot for that position as well.
Sounds like they're gonna have, well, they do, they're gonna have 2 slots, so. Yeah, I don't see anything in there that, I would certainly defer to Miss Donna, I mean, she's the one's gonna deal with it, but, I don't have an issue with any of those docs, gentlemen.
Well, the only one, we have a number there on salary adjustments, and I think that we need to really get a good handle from Mr. Hendricks on what he anticipates the revenues will be before we even put that number out.
And it should be really close that his assessed valuation is like this second week. I'm not even sure, I kinda have it wrote on my calendar.
When did you wanna send this out?
I was hoping for Friday, but just because my timing, so that I can have that but between Friday and Monday or Tuesday would not be, a horrible.
Have you discussed that number that you have in here with Mr. Hendricks?
No, I just put that in there, just so you would know it was a number I was looking for.
We did 1% last year, correct?
Yes. Good of you to read that underneath that
Mm-hmm.
grade.
I didn't, I just remembered.
Even better.
And I don't know that it would be beneficial to our supervisors to give them a range, cause the reason they're looking for this number is so they can plug it into their budgets.
Well, they need
What
to
if
know
we-
what the limit is.
What if we gave them a range now and firmed that up in September?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, as long as, because I'm not, let's see, what date was I asking them, as long as it's before, the 6th is the drop dead for getting them back, so that I can start entering them, so as long as they don't have a problem with it, I don't.
I don't know how they could do their budget.
They gotta know
What
what
they
they
would do with
can
their
do. They don't have to give it
And
to
we're not
us.
gonna know it until we have a
Conversation.
pretty good idea of what the revenues are gonna be,
And
so.
JD should know at any time, I believe. JD with the assessed valuation to multiply it out.
Yeah.
When do you think he'll have that?
I believe that it comes in August. I just have a note, since it's his gig, I just know that he gives it to me kind of in that area.
Let's follow up.
Yeah, but I don't really know.
Because we need to follow up with him. I don't wanna arbitrarily pull a number out and find that we're way too low, way too high, whatever. I wanna be appropriate and fair with our employees.
And then I don't think it says, and how it says it across the board or performance based, if they, 1 or 2% or whatever it is, and that
This
would-
is a debate we have every time budget comes up. Do we wanna do just flat across the board or based upon what the supervisor feels is performance? I can give you my opinion, but,
Well, the statements in there, maybe you want them, so we can cross that bridge
I agree.
later down. We're not saying you will do this on a performance review.
And there may not even be a raise at all, depending on what the standard tells us. So, we're a little premature with that decision till we know what to do.
I'll ask Judy.
Yeah, and it says up to a percentage number. So we're not saying figure on this, it's up to that, so. I'm good with it.
Good job, Don.
You got it?
Thank you.
This is Clint's, not.
Anything else on this document we need to deal with, or we okay?
Nope, it was just kind of a, did you see anything that had the wrong years? 'Cause
No, I thought I
had-
did, but it was
I know
referencing
that I'm
back to the
going back and
2018,
forth, and I
yeah.
started jumping around.
I thought, wait a minute, 2018, but it was refer back to 2018, so.
And then I had one question, and Kelly, it's kind of for you. I always see the town of Westcliff puts out kind of a thing in the newspaper of people who want to ask for conservation trust money. Do we ever do that?
Oh, Conservation Trust, I was thinking PILT, sorry. We need to do that
Not
for
that I
PILT
ever
too.
remember. Just so that we could remember whoever the new person is that we would get, I mean, I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these, and while you, since you're on that kind of that topic, PILT 3 and the right people are in the room, we do need to post that, right?
Yep.
So we ought to get that going.
To post it, you need to advertise.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah, put that out there, that we have some PILT 3. Can we add that to the agenda on the 14th? Consideration of advertising for request for PILT 3, Title 3 money, right?
I call it Title 3, just because I have to try to remember. It's a big
But-
chunk.
I'd like to
Yeah.
put in for a new chair.
Hmm?
I'd like to put in for a new chair.
Two, and I second that.
Oh. Unfortunately, those costs are not covered under Title 3 PILT money, I can tell you that right now, unless we're gonna build a fire under them, then we might get by with it. Yeah, I think there's 80-some thousand, 78,000 or something.
I thought it was
Then a
68.
chair is nothing.
Yeah, we have some carryovers there. Okay, very good.
Okay, I will let you know what Judy says. And you
Thank
say,
you.
that's not now.
Yeah.
I'll say,
Yeah, it's not that time of year
it's
all.
on there.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
What is this document? Good morning. How are you? Good. Doing well. Gotta go to the bathroom, but it can wait. He asked me about that. I got it.
Let's hope it waits.
Yeah.
TMI.
It is, I don't think it is, I think it's very important
Back to life.
information, VI, very important information, VII.
Instead of PII, it's VII.
Yeah, that's right.
Should I start with my every month question?
Sure, go ahead.
Any anomalies, outstanding information, anything we need to bring to our attention?
No, kind of normal.
Looks good. We're tracking okay on budget?
Well, I don't know everybody else's budget, but
Yeah, I mean, the ones that you're.
on my budget, I'm
The ones you're following, that's what I'm referring to. Good. We need a motion to accept this?
I move we accept her, what is the monthly report, treasury,
For the month of July.
month of July.
I'll second it.
July.
Moving seconded to accept the July report from the treasurer's office, discussion. Hearing none, proceed to vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries. Would you draft up a little something for Title III money or
pretty me drafted.
an ad?
The paper.
Well,
I know, just put in the paper. Why not?
Not my job.
Oh,
Whose job is it?
She's pointing at you back there.
You should point at you. I'm just kidding.
I didn't even know
All
what
right,
you're talking
very good.
about.
Thank you.
Let's start down here.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right,
Bubble's back.
now,
JD is at conference,
Oh.
and he'll be back on Friday.
okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I move we take 5.
We're not at the end of your
Yeah.
agenda?
We haven't even
Done.
gone to the agenda yet, have we?
But
Haven't
there's
written
nothing
anything
there.
on
We're
it.
out of agenda.
Okay, I'll be back in a minute.
We'll take a 3-minute recess.
Thank you.
Hurry.
Yeah.
Wet her in the lake.
Well, there's a French lick tap.
Good. Commission meeting will resume.
Should we sing happy birthday to you all?
I think it's appropriate.
You do. I see. Unfinished business?
I don't have any, sir.
Nor do I. New business?
Can't think of anything.
Okay. Public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Because I wouldn't want us to get out too early. I'm asking Kelly and maybe Clint, or maybe you guys, can you get out of a
Tax district?
I mean,
Probably
can the
not.
voters unvote the money?
I would guess the voters could if the taxing district is willing to put it on a ballot.
Oh, well, that's a conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
wait.
the next,
I think you can get on the
the
ballot
next
with the voters
actions
wanting
will
it.
look at
No,
that.
it can go on the ballot by petition. There's two
Oh,
ways
right.
to do it.
You
So
can do
by
it.
petition, it could go on the ballot, and then yes, and that's what it would take to get out of the tax district, a majority vote of the voters.
Unless the district wanted to dissolve themselves.
Right, assuming they chose not to do it on their own. They could do it on their own, but they would need to do it on a ballot also, because it was a ballot that put it on.
Right.
Could you just pull the ambulance out from under there? How does that work? Because that was,
I asked that question as Secretary of State. And since the hospital district did it, I don't know if they would undo it.
commissioners
Commissioners gave it
originally
to them.
did it.
We could probably take it.
Could they,
We
didn't
gave them
they?
the authorization, we, the commissioners in the old days, gave them the authorization, and the hospital district arranged for funding through a ballot initiative. County did not do that. So it's a two-pronged deal, the way I
So
see
you
it.
have to have a vote saying, one, we wanna cancel that mill levy, and two, we want the ambulance to be pulled out from under. But you probably have to have a destination.
The county would have the authority to take
I
back the
think we can take
ambulance,
it back.
based on what I've
I
read
mean,
the
because
statute.
if you're talking about AMR taking it over, who has the authority to
Right.
do that?
Yeah.
Again,
That
there's
was the
that,
first question
there's
Tom
that
asked
question
at our meeting the other day.
that we
Who was
never got,
responsible for them, and they
never
didn't
got a
answer.
question.
Right.
And I
That
think
question.
statutorily, the county has the authority to,
We're accountable for it. We can delegate it, which we did.
But I
They
think,
do.
And that 3 mil would go with whoever got it.
That's right.
That
See,
3 mil
that's-
would have to be just dropped and redone.
yeah,
And redone.
we have to
Redone.
start it all over. Cause that 3
And
mills
when-
went to the hospital district.
And when AMR goes into a small town or a small community and takes over their ambulance, do they get a mill levy or do they rely solely on,
That's up to the county to decide.
but normally what do? You know, do
they
they,
send a bill to the county. and
Oh,
the
they
county-
do,
yes,
to the
and
county.
then the county could raise funds through
I
a mill
see.
levy or something else to pay for that. I'm sorry about my phone.
okay,
You're contracting with the county.
Right.
If that's what they pay.
for a certain amount of money.
And we could do nothing.
And then they
but
bill
pay
the
them.
people in addition, just like
Sure,
the
that's
clinic
correct.
does here.
That is correct.
I just wanted to see,
Yeah, I think these are legal points eventually we're gonna have to address, but we'll see how the process plays out.
But just
because
make-
once again, you know, no one's getting decent service at this
Right.
point.
Well, clearly in the documents I've looked at, the county gave the responsibility to the hospital district to run the ambulance.
Right.
That wasn't through a vote, that was strictly by resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a contract we have with them,
The
and
county.
if they violate the breach it, we can cancel.
Well,
the
what if they don't violate
I
it?
think
Can
we
we
can,
still
we can ask for it back.
We could ask for it back anyway, since it was ours.
ask for it or take it back?
We could take it back if we had to.
It's our, we're
Well,
accountable.
because there probably was no
Delegate.
definition of what
It was open-ended.
constituted ambulance service.
Right.
Just what had been provided by the ambulance corps previously.
Prior to that, so. Yeah. Other public comment, good point.
Happy birthday, Barbara.
Happy birthday, Barbara!
Happy birthday.
Thank you all.
Happy birthday!
Hearing no further public comment, Chair would entertain a motion before we do that, I'm not gonna move to go into executive session today, but I wanna ask attorney a question about that. I don't believe the recovery effort went as smooth as it should have, could have, or needed to. Do we, to discuss that and the personnel involved in an executive session, can we talk about personnel in an executive session without that person being there?
You can talk about it sort of in general terms if you feel you need an executive session. You know, if you make that decision, then we have to have another one and, you know, notify the person, whoever the personnel persons are, that they have a right to be present, have a right to have it public if they want to, but to just discuss it among yourselves and decide if you wanna go that route, you don't have to have the person there for that.
But you could do it in executive session.
We can do it in executive session. It is a preliminary personnel issue.
And by definition then, how would we determine personnel? Does that mean employees of the county? Or is that
Yes.
other personnel?
No, it's employees of the county, you don't have any control over. I mean, if it's search and rescue or somebody else, we don't have control over that. I mean, I guess search and rescue is under the sheriff, but they're all volunteers and not really county employees.
So what are we talking?
So the commissioners would be legal to sit right here in public meeting and lodge a complaint against an individual
If it's not a
and have a
county
discussion
employee,
about that.
yeah, you can certainly do that.
If it's not a county.
Yeah, right. If it's a county employee, then the personnel policy applies and the open record, or open meetings act and the executive session, everything has to apply it at that point, but not to somebody who's not an employee of the county.
So, for all intents and purposes, when we talk about personnel, that is a county employee.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anything else?
The boss said thank you to you all.
No.
That quick.
Technology.
Dick Tracy Fund.
One other thing, I mean, I happened to notice this, I was getting the legal description for the judicial center land, so I could go over and talk to Brenda. And I noticed the way JD has it, he's actually already transferred ownership to the county. I mean, so I need to have him correct that. We recorded the lease purchase agreement, but it should still remain in the name of the trust, and they should still pay the taxes on it until it's actually transferred. So I think JD needs to correct his records on that.
And I asked Donna once, forgot what she told me, that anniversary date's coming up for land payments as well.
It should have already happened, I thought.
It may have, I didn't see
The
it
end
in
of July, I
I
thought.
think it did.
Oh, it was in the vouchers, come to think of it.
Okay,
It did.
Yeah.
so we paid another 50,000.
59, I think.
59, is that what it was?
Mhm. Something like that. Okay, anything else?
Gee, we get out on recess here. Early.
I can adjourn it, or I certainly would entertain a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Before 11 o'clock.
I'll second it. So moved and seconded to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.